Welcome back to Balmer's Workshop. Thanks so much for joining me here once again. It's always nice to have you back. The last video I published was part 2 of a high clearance rear bumper build for a second gen Toyota Tacoma. Now that series wound up being nearly 2 hours long, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who are interested in the bumper itself, but who are not interested to watch 2 hours of build time. So it's for you folks that I've made this shortened walk around video. Because the walk-around portion of the content was designed as a conclusion to the video series, it may seem a bit choppy and disjointed, but I hope it'll at least give you a decent look at the finished product. Well, the big day has finally arrived, and here she is, all finished up and fully installed. Even the license plate light is wired, and everything is good to go. Went together really well. Sometimes on installation you find little interference issues and stuff if you've left hole tolerances too small or any tolerance too small, but in this case I had no issues at all. Even though I left my tolerances tight, everything worked out well. Good examples of that are the holes here for the radius plate. Sometimes they'll shrink up with the powder coat to the point where the pin won't quite engage. Similar is true of this one, but we had very good luck with this all around. So after it came back, all I had to do was obviously install everything, add a few plastic caps to the ends of some open tubes, put my buffers and bumpers and all that kind of stuff back on, and away we go. So as you can see right now, I've got the spare tire, or sorry, the one of the wheels from the vehicle mounted on the spare tire carrier rather than the actual spare tire. And that's just so the customer can get a look at that, because it looks a lot nicer than it does with that ugly old spare on it. But when he arrives, I'll give him a walk around of everything, and then we'll swap those tires out and he'll drive away with the actual spare on the back. But I figure it's time for a little walk around ourselves before he does arrive, because I did kind of shortchange you in this video in terms of explaining some of the processes that I went through to create this thing, especially the swing arm portion of it. So I explained the radius plate, that's actually a tire mounting flange, similar to the one that this tire is mounted to, and I just cut it to fit the bumper and gusseted it underneath. I put that in place before I drilled the holes. I just wanted to make sure that the radius was nice, so the pin, when I opened the swing arm, the pin radius matched the radius of the outside of this plate nicely. I did that, put the plate in place, and then figured out where I wanted the holes, because it's better just to have that plate nice and rigid before you start trying to figure out where your holes are going to be, because those are very, very sensitive to tolerances, and they've worked out well. The cap on this TMR hub, I hope to have the writing in line with this piece here. Again, when you powder coat stuff, it adds a few thousandths of an inch to everything, and so this is as tight as I can get it to go now, so it's a little off. So I wish that it wasn't, but it's the best I can do. I don't have a wrench large enough to go on here to really crank it down, and I'd be hesitant to do so anyway, because this is an aluminum cap that's been anodized, so it would mark up really easily. Here's our little LED license plate light. I've mounted the license plate to the swing arm, and then I've got some, foam weather strip on the back sides to stop any scratching against the swing arm and also against the bumper when it closes, because of course the license plate opens up with the swing arm. And there's a better look at that fuel can holder that I didn't have on last time. Customer can choose between a plastic or a metal military style 20-liter or 5-gallon fuel can. Will fit in there comfortably. It has enough room width-wise that when that can swells up thanks to the heat in the summertime, it'll still work. It'll bow out nicely with the can, and it won't break welds or anything like that. Our cam style rattle-free latch is in place with its little bumper there and its UHMW buffer right there, so that no galling happens of steel, no metal on metal contact. Our high lift is in place. We've got the locking handle on there and a nice wing nut on the other end, so he doesn't have to use any kind of tools to remove that. Our removable mud guards are in place. You can see it's pretty dark down there, but maybe you can see that T-handle. That's been lubed up with anti-seize so that we don't have issues with rust over time. And the powder coat worked out really well. I'm very happy with the job that my supplier has done for me as usual. Matches the lines of the vehicle quite nicely, I think. I hope the customer's going to be happy with it. I'll put you on a tripod now and we'll open up this swing arm, have a look at the table and stuff one last time. And I think it's pretty well a wrap on this thing. Oh, actually, maybe I'll put it up on the hoist and show you the wiring on the back side of the bumper. So this is my anti-rattle cam style latch. It holds the bumper super nice and tight and has absolutely no rattle to it at all. As you can see, super firm, easy to open. Put a little bit of pressure on the spring-loaded T-handle, smack the latch itself in to release that pressure, and the T-handle will spring open. Thusly, pull this handle down, and you can open the swing arm just as you see here. It will lock into place automatically, just like so. That's at 90 degrees to the bumper, which gives you enough room to open up the tailgate, no problem at all. However, when I go to open up to fold up my fold-up table, and I take out the anti-rattle device here, I try to keep everything rattle-free on my bumpers. So once I remove that, you will see that I cannot open the table in that position. But again, as I've said before in the video, the reason that I set it so that it opens initially at 90 degrees is so that it doesn't go any wider than necessary in case there's any obstacles, like another car or something on the other side of that. You want it to stop at 90 degrees. But we can't open that, so in that case, we just lift up our spring-loaded T-handle from here, allow the swing arm to open up to its next position, where the table opens up really nicely. I don't know if you can see that, the backside hardware for the license plate and license plate light. There's a plastic plug right here. The reason is because I have a hole that I bring those wires through and then fish them through the swing arm a lot more easily than I can through the small hole at the front there that the wires go through. So that's been plugged up nicely. We've got some wire loom on the backside of the swing arm here so that that wiring is nicely protected. It looks nice and clean. And these are stainless steel marine grade hinges, which have little catches under here. Super easy to operate. Lock that down into position. Put your anti-rattle device back in place, which is just a threaded T-handle. And you're good to go. Should the customer want to remove his high lift, he's got to use his keys to lock up this handle so that it won't spin freely like it does now. That's an anti-theft device. We've got an anti-rattle device on the high lift itself so the handle doesn't jiggle around. And on this side, we've got a nice wing nut so that he doesn't need to use any tools to remove the high lift. And that is that. To close this thing, we just lift the T-handle, pass the second notch, pull our spring-loaded T-handle, close the latch. You can see that the T-handle has not sunk in yet, and that's because I haven't given it the little smack that it needs to set everything into position, just like that. And then we are absolutely rattle-free and rock solid. So let's just have a little better look at these mudguard holders. Again, they're suspended from the brace that supports the wing of the bumper or the side of the bumper. I just dropped a tube vertically down from there and then put a notch in it and welded another tube onto it. The back spacing worked out best to keep it back this way. I set my T-handle, my set screw dead center, and this tube comes through to about here. It's not all the way, but it's got about 3.5 inches of purchase material in there. So if I unscrew this, you see how easily that comes out. In case when the customer's wheeling, he doesn't want to have rocks push the mud flaps up into the exhaust when he's backing up, or potentially even into the tire, although I think they're too short to actually contact the tire. But it's nice to have the option to remove your mud guards, so that's why I've given him the option. Okay, so just a final look at this wiring. There's where the loom comes through from the swing arm. I've set up those nice little tabs all along here so that I can zap strap to them. We've got loom running all the way through. There's where it meets the stock loom, and I have added his 7-way RV trailer plug underneath here for a nice high clearance approach. Rather than having it hanging down at 90 degrees, he's got a ton of clearance this way, and he can just plug his wiring right up into it, as you can see there. So, nice clean setup, and that is pretty well that. Thanks so much for joining me here once again. If you are interested in a custom build like the one you saw on this video, or if you'd like to check out my production line, please go to the website. There's a link in the description. Take care and all the best.